All right. I was just randomly seeing if RC Cola, okay, because I was watching a YouTube video, which will be comedians in getting coffee in cars or whatever, Jerry Seinfeld, and they were talking about a particular product, like if Pepsi is the number one soda production, which I'm sure they're number two, and, and Coca Cola is still number one. Okay, but why would you make anything else? And they were like, you might as well just quit. Okay, but life doesn't work that way because my my number one soda is Pepsi. Okay, Coca Cola is a forced drink. Okay, and yes, this is a point. Meaning that there has to be no Pepsi whatsoever. Okay, it's like you walk into like Subway and they're like, "Oh no, Coca Cola product." God damn it! Okay, I can't have my Pepsi. All right, so now I'm not saying that's the case. I have no idea what Subway sells for sodas. Okay, but this is a thing. Okay, all right. Rarely do you see a restaurant that has Pepsi and Coca Cola products. Okay, and there's a lot of people who don't know what that really means. Okay, so either the company that has a particular soda product, all right, has a contract with Coke. Okay, so when Coca Cola sells their soda machines, that particular person, like Barb's root beer, right? Which is not the case. I'm not saying that's the case. Okay, I'm just making up random stuff. Um, when Coca Cola goes out to store or if a store says, "Hey, I want a soda machine," okay, bars will be a part of their package. Okay, now I'm sure the company or restaurant gets to choose which uh uh which on their list is part of their soda machines, or maybe Coca Cola just has packages. Okay, I don't even know if this is a Coca Cola item. I don't know if Coca Cola is the one selling the soda machines. Oh, this is a third party. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Now, does Coca Cola make bars? I'm gonna say no. I don't know. Don't care. It's for the purpose of discussion. Okay. So now, all right. So now, but okay, Coca Cola might own Sprite. Okay. All right. It's named Sprite, but it might be a Coca Cola product made in their in their plants. Okay. We don't really know. Okay. All right. So, um, what am I thinking of? I think Gatorade. I think Coca Cola got Gatorade. And once Gatorade was purchased by Coca Cola, it hit the roof because of the sugar, okay, that they put in, um, oh, Jesus. Um, and Gatorade. And I'm gonna tell you, I used to love Gatorade until that happened. Okay, I had no idea it was purchased by Coca Cola. Okay, and all I know is I went from today loving Gatorade, all right, to tomorrow. Like, man, what the fuck is this shit? Okay, and the reason why is because of that sugar content. But my all time favorite. Now, before we talk about that, okay. So I was sitting there thinking about, what did I used to drink as far as a generic drink back in the day, okay? And oh, is that even still made? So it was RC Cola, right? So I looked it up, and yeah, RC Cola is still made today. Okay, RC Cola was one of those things where you wouldn't go into Giant to purchase. You would go into I cannot even think of a damn generic store. Okay, um, because all those stores are gone, and we're talking about in my teenage years. Okay, and prep and basically 16 years old and older, because at that point I had a license and I was driving, so I could go to go to stores. Okay, I don't even think at the time you could pick up a RC Cola single from a 7-Eleven. Okay, and I'm sure you can do that today, but RC Cola is no joke. Okay, So RC Cola is not going to be like, oh, well, Pepsi and Coca Cola are number one and two. I'm quitting. Okay, because because if they're still made today, okay, all right, obviously there's something there that works for RC Cola, and RC Cola is a cola. Okay, there's no doubt about it. All right, okay, they're not stealing the recipe of Pepsi or Coke. Okay, all right, and who knows? They probably did. I have no idea. The bottom line is, it doesn't taste like either one, but it's still a good drink. Okay, I would literally go into those small grocery stores. And you know the ones I'm talking about. The grocery stores that have no shelves. There's just boxes on the floor, and there's a box sitting on top of another box, sitting on another box, and there's holes cut inside the box, and that's your shelving, right? Okay, that might be exaggerated, but still, the thing is, it still is there. So, now, what did I just do with this story? Oh, and by the way, okay, the other great memory was going to the crappiest, dirtiest, smallest corner store in existence. Okay, and for me, all right, it was a mile up the street. Okay, from my grandmother's house that I would walk to all the time. Okay, and it was called Staples Corner. Okay, all right. First of all, when you walk into this corner store, okay, which was literally literally a corner. Okay, it's the only damn store that was at that station called Staples Corner. There wasn't even a gas station there at that point in time, which eventually became a strip mall. But you walk in there and just the atmosphere from coming outside into this place was dark and gritty. Okay, but okay, and the entranceway was so narrow. Okay, all right, there's no way in hell you're gonna say excuse me, okay, and get past somebody. If somebody is there in that hallway as you're walking into the place, they're just there. You're just stuck, okay, because there's no space to get around that person. Okay, and then the store opens up a little bit, but hey, it ain't that much because you are surrounded by boxes and bottles and chips and groceries. Okay, and I don't mean groceries like apples and oranges. I'm talking about like snacks. Okay, all right, bags and bags of chips and things like that. All right, and then you had your refrigerators. Okay. All right. Now, the space between the refrigerator and the actual boxes behind you that had chips and stuff like that in them, yeah, again, it's just like the hallway. Okay? And what you're seeing on the screen now was my number one thing. That's how the bottle was shaped and looked, and it was not a bottle you could twist off. Okay? Cream soda. This is part of my childhood. Okay? Now, okay, so when I was talking about RC Cola, okay, all right, what was I doing there? I was placing an argument, okay, and the problem with this is people take the concept of someone saying, no, that's not right, as a personal attack, and that's not the case. The greatest profession on this planet, okay, which people would disagree, okay, they would say that they're devils and, the worst people on the planet, okay, but is a lawyer. And his job to the jury is to place an argument to create a different narrative, to make those people go down this road of this scenario that the lawyer created to provide doubt to the original storyline that the prosecutor is creating. Okay? All right? You cannot be human without this ability. And if you don't have this ability, what ends up happening is you don't place arguments. The other person that you're talking to that's placing an argument of whatever topic you're talking about, you will take it to the level because you can't place arguments. You just argue. Okay, so you take it to the level of arguing. All right, and this happens a lot in interacting with people. So now what's happening is you're trying to have a discussion and a conversation, and the only thing that that other person is doing is trying to fight you, disagree with you, and argue with you. There is a difference from placing an argument and arguing. Okay, all right, and okay, I met someone like a month ago. Okay, and that's what ended up happening. This guy was getting so upset because of the fact that he could not accept what I was saying, and to me, it was a discussion. Okay, and he's sitting there looking at me, raising his voice, saying, and you're sitting here just arguing with me, and I'm like, yeah, see, that's it. The only person that's arguing is you. Okay, you're the one who can't place an argument without arguing. That's all you know how to do. Your response is to argue. Okay? All right? Now, what is the reality of this? Why do I bring this up? Sorry. Because your job as a network engineer, okay, is to place an argument. And in fact, the title of this video is going to be The Argument, okay? All right? Now, if we go back see, is RC Cola still made? Okay, so here we go. All right, so now, images. Okay, so these people are arguing, okay? You can tell by their attitude, their body language, their hands positioning, which will be body language. Okay, so now these two people, okay, they're having a discussion and placing arguments, okay, in the discussion to not really justify their standings, but in a polite way, in a caring way, to try to make the other person understand their point of view. This person who does this is a person who gives a shit about the other person, and regardless if they know each other or not, it's a respect thing. Okay, and we have to do this all the time. Okay, especially as network engineers. Now, if you're a network engineer working at a company and you don't understand your company's business mission, okay, all right, you're kind of missing the whole purpose of why you're there, okay? And the thing is, if you are doing something in the organization, okay, that bombs when you try to suggest that change in the organization, most likely it bombed for a reason that you are not aware of because you're too busy doing your thing. Okay? Now, this is not me placing an argument that what you're doing is negative or bad. You could take it that way based on the tone that I gave, but in reality, that tone was me emphasizing the point that I was making because I was trying to create or think of the words to use. So they were getting thrown out there, okay? All right, that aggression, all right, as you hear, okay? Now, if you understood your company's mission statement, okay, you might be able to place an argument, okay, towards the justification on why you as a network engineer, okay, wants to purchase this item, okay, and you might even place an argument, okay, to the people above you or the higher people that be or the VPs, okay, on why this is going to cost more money, okay, because somewhere down the line you realize that they like money. Okay, so, all right, now you can create a spreadsheet and a chart showing the what happens when you don't purchase this product, how much this product purchased, and the savings of that, and this purchase actually pays for itself in 5 years. Now you are placing an argument, and you're talking their language. Okay, you have their attention now because of the power of these two people engaging in a conversation. Guys, let me tell you something in life. All right, I was married for 18 years, okay, and when I left, okay, um, it's you start to reflect, okay. 18 years is a long time, okay, all right, and you start reflecting, okay, because this has got to stop. It's just the same roller coaster since my very first girlfriend and my, when I was 16 years old, and I just, we keep getting back to here, and not to mention the fact that it's exhausting and blah 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 blah. Okay, this is me placing arguments with myself, having a conversation with myself. It's called growth. Okay, all right. So, you will realize that sometimes in life you have to stop placing an argument with the incorrect audience. Okay? Because the incorrect audience is not at the mindset of these two ladies. Okay? Or is that a guy and a female? I don't know. Okay. So, um, that is the reality. If you are discussing and trying to have a conversation with someone who's arguing with you, okay, you're never going to have that conversation. Okay? Neither are they, but they're not trying to have the conversation. They're just trying to argue with you. So, remember when I talk about the 360-degree revolving door, okay? Arguments have a two-sided place. One side of the door is placing arguments in a discussion. The other one is arguing, like these two people right here. Okay? Now that's an argument, all right? Now, in your career, it doesn't just stop with you trying to get new equipment in your lab or in your infrastructure. This comes down to this. All right? Give me a second to blow my nose. Okay. One of the things that has always been a part of my life, okay, is when De La Soul, okay, said in one of the, and I think it was 3 Feet High in Rising song, okay, everybody wants to be a DJ, okay, and the thing is, that is the case, man. Everybody wants to be a director. Everybody wants to be a network engineer, okay, all right, and this is the funny thing, okay. Everything is a network problem. Okay, everything. Okay, and you're sitting there and you start off refusing to justify why you have proved to them that it's not the network. Okay, but saying so as a network engineer, you get insulted because you start questioning them. Why the fuck am I here then? Okay, if you're not gonna believe anything I tell you, all right, guys, this is networking engineer 101. Okay, everybody goes through it, and you're not, and you got two choices, man. You can actually start realizing what your role. Hang on for 1 second. What your role of a network engineer really is, because here's the reality. You want to become a network engineer, okay? So you're start off not doing engineering stuff. okay, you are in the networking field, and that's an accomplishment in its own. Okay, you finally got your foot in the door. Now, okay, you're gonna you have to start learning the ins and outs of the field. All right, and there's other things, paying your dues, and also um, starting to realize what really being a network engineer really is. Okay, now, nobody that wants to get into the networking field knows that you have to have a underlining skill set of Batman. Okay? All right? You have to become the great detective, like Nazo Ghul would say. Okay? All right? Um, and sorry, but I have a hard time saying his name. But Nazo Ghul, okay, always have given, even though there's a sense of enemy tension between him and Batman, but he's always given Batman the respect of calling him the great detective, because that really is the underlying architectural soul of Batman, is his ability, okay, to clear the clouds and see what is being hidden from him and Gotham. Okay, so that is your skill set, and regardless whether you want to do this or not, you're going to learn it, or else you're not going to stay as a network engineer for very long. Okay, meaning that there are countless times that I had to figure out by wire captures what protocol you are using, and get documentation on that protocol, and learn more about that protocol than you will ever learn. And it's not even my crap. Okay? It ain't my system. Okay? All to be that in-depth detective, okay, to prove to you, the customer, that it's not the network. And you would think, well, wouldn't that take hours? Oh my God, countless of hours. It could take days. Okay, all right. But the concept is, okay, to place this argument of it's not the network to a solidifying fact. Okay? And sometimes you have to go and learn their system to the level that they should know their system, but they're never going to get there. They're just an administrator of their system, but they should know their system to this level, and they don't. So, in order for you to get them off your back, or to get your manager off your back, is to prove to your team, okay? Now, again, your team, nine times out of 10, is going to know it's not the network, okay? But giving your manager the ammunition to go back and say, guys, I don't know what else proof you need, but smack it on the desk, which will be a packet of paper, right? Here's your proof, okay? Now, what does this do? You have been telling them for a whole week to go back and look at their system, okay? That's never going to happen, okay? Until you lay that packet of paper on their desk. And now the other team's manager now has no choice but to push that team to go back and look at their server, or look at their system, or their coding, or their software, or whatever, or or even in some aspects their entire design. Okay, Now, you have taken a week of your time for this particular issue. Okay, on top of other projects that were actually more important, okay, than this. But, a lot of times the noisiest, squeakiest wheel gets the oil first. Okay, all right, they're the ones creating which we will call normal drama necessity. Okay, all right, it's not like soap opera bullshit. It's not. It's a real problem. Okay, and their normal steps of getting the problem resolved isn't working. Okay, so now they're going to turn the heat up on the network team because the only argument that they can place is it must be the network. Okay? All right? So, this is beyond the concept or the purview of what you thought you would be doing in this field. You're not a detective. And the only thing that I can tell you is, welcome to networking field. Okay? All right? That is just part of the job. Okay? And in some aspects, you would think that it's beyond your job description, but that is an unspoken job description that will never be written on paper. Never are they going to say, all right, and we need you to be a detective for other people's systems, okay, in order for us to prove that it's not a network issue. Because everything is a network issue from everybody else's point of view, okay? So, the argument will be your greatest ally or your worst chaotic destruction. Okay? So make sure the argument that you're placing is relevant, okay, to the problem in hand. Alright? Pointing blame to somebody else, it does not fix the problem. Okay? Alright? Telling everybody else it wasn't me, it doesn't fix the problem. Okay? Alright? What you're doing, whether you want to call it deflecting, okay, but what you're doing is you're placing an argument that is irrelevant and does not move forward or take a step forward, okay, in solving the actual problem. Don't come with me with irrelevant arguments. Come with me with relevant solutions within your argument. Okay? Alright, so that's the thing. Okay? Now, this is growth. This is you starting to analytically analyze what words you use, the tone, the aggressive, your emails, your communication with your team. And if you find yourself not being able to get along with anyone, there may be a issue with yourself, because how the hell can a million people be wrong? At some point, okay, even if you are the nicest guy on the planet, okay, all right, but all your personal relationships in the same, okay, it's not something you're doing, it's something that somebody else is doing, but you're not taking the time to analyze why you keep getting in this position, because something is helping you get into this position, something you're doing, okay, something that you're not recognizing, all right, because in reality, for 3 decades, okay, you keep having the same relationship, all right, so at some point, look back and say, it can't be everybody else, all right, and start analyzing how your relationships, every one of them, from the very beginning, started. How did it initialize? What drew you to this person? And you'll start to see a common denominator and start realizing, oh my God, I'm 50 years old. I'm not doing that shit no more. Right? So, but that's growth. Okay? And unfortunately, you have to go through hell to get to heaven's door. All right? Meaning that you have to fail in this aspect. Okay, you're going to do dumb shit. Okay, all right, and the only thing that I would tell you never to do, okay, is take things personally. All right, you're going to the first time you hear the fact that you're incompetent is probably going to you're probably going to take it personally, and why wouldn't you? Okay, all right, but you got to start realizing the characteristic of the person that doesn't do what you do, okay, and perceives you as incompetent and says this adjective to describe your character and demeanor. That's the person that you're dealing with. That's who that person is. That person can't create a solution, but they definitely could create drama. And calling you incompetent is the drama that they love to create. And you will see it time and time again. Okay? All right? And you have to ask yourself, how the hell is this person still, still employed here? Okay, with all the bullshit, because it's done indirectly. Okay? All right? It's done indirectly, and it's done in a way where the positives of her work production is a lot higher than the negatives of her drama. Okay? And technically her drama is irrelevant, okay, until you make it relevant by feeding into it. Okay? So the argument that you place is important. Okay? All right? It has the building block foundation of the goal you're trying to accomplish. Okay? Now, I would say, get better at it. Okay? All right? And speak up. Because if you can't fail of getting what you want, okay, how are you ever going to learn how to succeed in getting what you want? Okay? And it's not just really about what you want, okay? It's about your goal in your career. Okay? Maybe you care so much that you feel it insulting to the network itself, which the network doesn't have a living, breathing emotional response, but you caring and having that connection with the infrastructure does. Okay? And maybe the fire in your belly to place the argument, or to go back to the drawing board, or to go back to the argument, or create a new argument, okay, or to analyze your dialect to actually change the tone of how people are perceiving you, okay, maybe that fire in the belly is telling the network, I love you. All right? If I could take you to dinner, I would. But I just want you to breathe easily. Be more efficient. Okay? I don't want you to suffer. Even though from the network's perspective, okay, all that suffering really is just load, okay? CPU's increasing higher because it has more work to do, okay? It gets more heat, produces more energy, eats up more energy to function, okay? These are functionalities of inefficiency, okay, that we try to avoid, all right? Imagine CEF, CEF, not existing, okay? Think about it, okay? Or fast switching. Imagine it not existing. Our CPUs would have a half-life of what it have now, of what they have now. Kind of like that play on words, half-life, right? Yeah, so, yeah, that was intended. So, now, you are replacing the equipment because the CPUs keep dying, all right? And we're talking about years of death, meaning that because of the CEF table, all right, your CPU now and circuit board does not produce as much heat, and it could last for decades later, all because of a simple CEF table. Okay, that's efficiency. All right, but don't be ashamed, okay, to give a shit. I want you to, all right, but I want you to get better at placing an argument. Okay, all right. The number one thing, what I love the most, is when I get an email or a comment on my channel, either questioning or having a question of what I said, or questioning me in a wrong scenario, saying that you're wrong. Okay, because all that does is me placing an argument in my response to you, which will be a video. Okay, it is just more content for me to create. I love it. Okay, and plus, that is the purpose of the channel in the first place, to interact. Be strong, be determined, be Cisco.